My name is Lisa Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Washington State Microenterprise Association. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a white woman, older white woman with a blurred background. I've got a white turtleneck and a blue jacket. I'm just super excited to be here with everyone. So without further ado, I'm just going to give us a chance to start and give a little bit of an orientation for folks. We're really excited to see you there. This is Keeping Rural on the Radar, Investing in Small Businesses. Today is April 10th. And we're just really excited that we had 95 people sign up and that we have such an extraordinary group of panelists. This is really a critical time in our rural communities. We have very small businesses who need financing. We have folks who've worked and retired and want to give back. And this is a way we can learn more about opportunities to create more financing for very small businesses in rural communities. So if you want, just put your name, your organization, your pronouns, your preferred pronouns in the chat. You can also do it briefly. If you choose not to, that's okay. I want to remind everybody that today's slide deck and the caption video replay and the chat box will be available on our website in a week or so once everything is put together. If you have any technical issues, just go to the chat and drop a note to Cherie Reeves-Fair with WSMA. And so one thing that would really be cool for us is to hear what is important to you. What do you hope to get? What are some of the important topics for you around this issue that you'd like to get? So you can put those in the chat as well. I want to just say how fortunate we feel as WSMA to be a partner in this effort. Our organization has been around since 2007. We're all about helping nonprofits around Washington State be ready, be capable, be funded in order to help those very small under 5 employee companies be strong. And these nonprofit partners around Washington State provide training, technical assistance, and financing. And our work at WSMA is helping them be strong, these nonprofits. And we do it in 3 ways: with training, grant making, and resource coordination. And why we do this is because we want to lower the barriers to business ownership. A lot of folks in rural communities, because of the distance, because of all kinds of factors, pull together different ways of making a living through self-employment. We want to make it easier for them by helping nonprofits that can help them be strong. So one of the key areas is through training and technical assistance. That's what tonight is with our Keeping Rural on the Radar. This is just a technical information opportunity for folks to learn about local investment networks. But we do training programs on working with people with disabilities, how to help the small businesses you're serving get access to healthcare, how to understand clean materials or access financing. So training is a key part of what we do. We're also a grant maker. And so we've been fortunate through the Department of Commerce to provide small grants to nonprofits all over Washington State so that they can better serve the businesses on the ground. And the third part of what we do is Evergreen BizLink that helps businesses 24/7 find the nonprofit, public, and academic partners that'll help them write a business plan, get access to financing, get business coaching, maybe find out about tax credits. This site is available to everybody in the state, and we're fortunate to be the powered behind this initiative. You can reach us in these different social media sites. And I want to just begin by saying thank you. We are super grateful to the Department of Commerce that is funding WSMA to do innovative projects like this. We're also really very grateful to the Washington State University Extension that has been really the backbone of the Local Investment Network program. Also, we have the Association of Washington Cities we're super grateful for. They've been partnering with WSU to help local communities build these local investment networks. We're also super Grateful for the speakers from the Methow Investment Network, from the Local Investment Opportunities Network with LCIN, the Local Investment Opportunity Network of Northeast Seattle with Lioness, and then the Lower Columbia Investment Network in Kelso, or LCIN. So we are just really excited to get started, and I wanted to just make sure that we have an opportunity to hear from folks in the room. And what we're going to do is hear kind of the background and history first, and then we'll hear our different speakers. What we want to make sure of is that you have a chance to ask questions. And so if you would use the Q&A box for your questions, that'll help us keep track. And also just know that we are here just to help inform folks, but also learn from you. So if you have a question, you want to reach out to these speakers in the future, you're welcome to do that. And so let's begin. I'd like to first just welcome the backbone partners. That's Anthony Gromko with WSU Extension. He's going to do an introduction, and then Jacob Ewing from AWC, or the Association of Washington Cities, and then I'll round it out for the background. All right, Anthony, take it away.
Thank you so much. Lisa, how's my audio? Can
You
hear me
sound
okay?
great.
Okay, excellent. I always like to check on that first before I dive in. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Anthony Gromko, and I'm with Washington State University Extension Network. And the Extension Network is a network of faculty and staff from WSU on the ground in every county in the state, doing a variety of different programs and projects with communities. And I'm an assistant professor with the Community and Economic Development Unit of Extension. And so I have a particular interest in small business development, alternative lending platforms, microfinance. And that's how I found myself initially getting involved in the local investment network concept, model, and ultimately project. I started getting involved with local investment networks back in 2017 in partnership with the Association of Washington Cities. This was a project that really saw an opportunity to take the existing model of a local investment network and promote it through outreach and engagement across the state, because we really saw the success that the local investment network in East Jefferson County had with establishing a local investment network back in 2008 during the recession. And that's kind of how we learned about the local investment network and how it evolved. It was a grassroots effort from the community, with community champions and individuals interested in supporting their local businesses at a time when conventional lending had kind of seized up and wasn't supporting local businesses. And so residents of what is now called LCIN, L-I-O-N, Local Investment Opportunities Network in East Jefferson County, came together and created a local investing network. And so we essentially took the model that they created and established a field guide for local investing and started to hit the road and talk to communities around the state about the concept, and with the hopes of replicating this model. And so now today we have 9 different local investment networks around the state that are at different stages of kind of evolution and development. And you'll hear from a few local champions of those local investment networks tonight on the panel. And so really, what is a local investment network? Well, it's essentially an innovative community-led peer-to-peer investment network that connects local investors who have capital with local businesses who need that capital. Pretty plain and simple, with a common goal to build wealth in their community by keeping local capital rooted in their local economy. And so why is this important, or why a local investment network? One, local investment network is purpose-driven. Members of local investment networks have a strong sense of pride driven by social purpose and community. Also, it adds to the entrepreneurial ecosystem of the community by creating yet another point of access and capital for local businesses. And also it supports the circular economy, the local economy, where local residents are investing their capital into local businesses, which then invest back into the local economy by creating jobs. And so this is a really powerful model that can be really successful in our communities. And I'm excited, we're all excited to share some more information about that with you guys tonight and have a great conversation. So I'll pass it now to Jacob, who can talk a little bit about Association of Washington Cities.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks,
Excellent.
Anthony. Appreciate that. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob Ewing. I am the Special Projects Coordinator at the Association of Washington Cities. The Association of Washington Cities has been around since Prohibition ended back in the 1940s. So we've been around the block a few times. The association, or AWC, is a great place. We represent all 281 cities in Washington. We provide education, advocacy, and communications for cities across the state. Very excited to be here tonight. I'm also kind of new to this world of local investment networks. Anthony worked with my predecessor, Andy Meyer, creating trainings and field guides and lots of other things. So I'll keep my comments brief because I am here to learn just like everyone else, but appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'll turn it over to Lisa at this point.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Jacob. And for those of you who didn't know, that Jacob's predecessor was really agile and helping this small network connect with small rural cities around the state. And so if you're in a small city and you are interested in learning more about this, reach out to your local city. They have connections with AWC. And then I just want to round this out by saying that the reason why WSMA, or the Washington Association of Washington State Microenterprise Association, is a part of this is really because we know that in a rural community, if the bank isn't going to lend to you, and if there's not a microlender nearby, where are you going to go to get financing? I also know there's a lot of investors, people who've retired, they want to give back, they want to see their local Main Street be viable and exciting, and they want to find a way to invest and find those opportunities. And what we have seen is that when investors are investing in Main Street and not Wall Street, or investing in their local community, really powerful things happen. And during the pandemic, for example, when these investors involved in these local investment networks were available, they were able to work with the businesses that were struggling and, just pay me in bread or pay me in coffee and we'll work it out. There was that patient, kind, mission lending that is really what businesses need in these rural communities. So we couldn't be happier to be here. What our dream is to help all the nonprofits that we support connect with the local investment networks so that they can create that pipeline of businesses that are ready for financing or ready for investment. And that's the kind of the value proposition for us. So without further ado, I would like very much to begin the panel discussion, and we're right on time. And I'd love to begin with Earl Merman, who's with the Local Investment Opportunities Network. And Earl has been really with this initiative for a very long time. It's really kind of the lead mentor for so many people in this space. And so Earl, I'd love to hand it over to you, introduce yourself, and then talk about LCIN. I know you have a video as well.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And Jacob and Anthony, thanks for the work you guys do to support local investment networks in the state. Unlike my background, which is Yosemite National Park, I live in Port Townsend, Washington. And as my white hair and beard may reveal, I'm retired. I've lived in the community since 2006 and been a member of LCIN since about 2009. And I'm going to pivot right into showing a video. So LCIN started in 2008 As Anthony said, it was a grassroots effort by people in the community who had been investing in some businesses, and they decided to try to do that in a more organized way that was open to more investors and more businesses. So fast forward from 2008 to 2022, we now have about 90 members in LCIN, and who've invested over $12 million in about 110 local businesses and nonprofits over those, what is that, 15 years. They've invested in all sectors of the economy. They've had a preference for food and farm, food and agriculture and small entrepreneurs and in some other areas, but they've invested in all sectors of the economy. And as Anthony said, local investing is basically a dating service. It's matching up people with capital who in the community who want to people who need capital in the community. And it's a completely different kind of investing than investing in the markets. It's all about developing relationships between the investors and the businesses. And the investment is really an investment in the community. That's what it really is. And it's only partly transactional. There's the transactional part of making a loan or equity investment and receiving a return. But there's a very deep relationship building that goes on, which over time really ties the community together. My wife and I have been involved in quite a few investments, and many of those people are friends. They're now friends. We get together. So it's a deeper relationship than simply the transactional part. Lisa mentioned the pandemic, and when the pandemic came along, LCIN members in 3 weeks set up a special fast track application for people who needed help with the pandemic. Because, we didn't know at that time how long the pandemic was going to last, and there wasn't any federal money available right away. It soon became available, and that was a big help and much greater than what local investors could do. But we had about 15 applications within a week, and funded about 5 or 6 of those within the next week. I mean, it was very quick. And then most of the local investors reached out to the businesses they had been funding and said, how about just putting everything on hold for 3 months until we kind of understand where we're at. And so many of the businesses just were given basically a 3-month gap in their payment schedule. Those 3 months were just sort of disappeared to get through that. So maybe with that offhand comments, I'll just move on. I'd rather spend more time answering questions. I think when people ask questions, I can know what you're interested in hearing. So Lisa, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Earl, so much. And for pivoting without that video, it's fabulous. So when folks have a chance to watch the video, I encourage you to do so. So now we're going to go from one part of the state in Port Townsend over to Twiss, Washington, and hear from Patrick Law, who's with Twispworks and the Methow Investment Network. And so Patrick, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Cherie, for having me and organizing this webinar and keeping rural on the radar. My name is Patrick Law. I'm with Twispworks. I'm wearing a gray sweater with a blue collared shirt, and I have a blurred background. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Looks great.
Okay, that looks okay?
Fabulous. Go for it.
Great. So Twispworks is a nonprofit organization. The mission of Twispworks is to increase the economic and cultural vitality of the Methow Valley. Our main focus is on economic development and the arts. We are on a 6.4 acre campus that is the former ranger station for this National Forest District. We with an agreement with the town, we acquired the campus and started to redevelop a lot of the existing buildings into studios, retail space, office space, and now we have a combination of artists and nonprofit organizations, the local radio station, the local newspaper, a number of other community groups. We have the ILC, which is the Independent Learning Center, a part of the local school district, has their facility here. So it's really a really great combination of different entities. And over the past 10 years, we put a lot of work into redeveloping the campus. But as the campus sort of, as we reached the kind of full development of the campus, we started pivoting towards offering more programs. And included in that is some of the economic development work that we do. First, a quick snapshot of the Methow Valley. We have 6,400 full-time residents, about 4,120 part-time residents. We have transitioned. We are formerly a very resource extraction dependent economy, farming, ranching, forestry. As those industries started to decline, residential construction and tourism have driven the economy, along with recreation as well. We have about 535 small businesses at the last count. Most businesses make about $50,000 a year. 40% have no employees, they're just owner operated. 51% of our businesses are women owned. 60% of the working families in the Methow make less than $50,000 a year. And the average cost of a home is $647,000, up from about $595,000. So there's a real disparity between what the average cost of a home is and what the average family is making. Twispworks, as I was mentioning before, as we pivoted to doing more economic development work, a lot of that has centered on business support. So we have a strong outreach network and work with the local chambers of commerce and a number of other nonprofit organizations to support small local businesses. We have the Methow Made marketing campaign and the Methow Valley Goods retail store, which is a consignment model that represents, I think, over 90 makers at this point. And then, of course, we have the Methow Investment Network, which I'm going to jump into in a little more detail in a moment. But we also offer a small business resiliency grant. That was an outcome from during the COVID pandemic. We had a number of generous community members donate. They didn't know what to do to support local businesses and donated to us, and we were able to grant a number of emergency grants. We also completed a comprehensive economic study of the Methow Valley in 2021, which informs a lot of our work. And then we continue to do fundraising for small businesses, provide technical assistance, and we share resources with our businesses. The Methow Investment Network started in 2017. And as Earl mentioned earlier, we really are a matchmaker that brings together investors and entrepreneurs. We do quarterly pitch events. We typically like to batch the pitches to anywhere from 3 to 5 businesses. We currently have 82 investor members. That number has grown recently. One of our challenges is around data tracking. So we have numbers, and I'm super confident in these numbers. I think that they're actually higher in reality, but this is what I can say with confidence that we've done. We've invested at least $1.6 million between 2017 and 2023, and at least 15 businesses have benefited from that investment. As I said, I think the numbers on both of those are higher, but I know for a fact that those are accurate at the very least. And the businesses that have been funded, it's truly a range. As you can see in this list here, you know, everything from the North Cascades Mountain Hostel, 509 Automotive, Blue Star Coffee Roasters, Old Schoolhouse Brewery, Smiling Woods Yurts, Airleaf Bistro. So, I mean, this, you can see in here that a lot of these businesses are in the food and beverage industry, but also manufacturing, automotive, professional services. It really runs the gamut. Our next pitch event is actually scheduled for this Thursday, which we're really excited about. It'll be our first in-person pitch event in 3 years. We had a number of Zoom pitch events, which were great, but we're really excited to be back in person. I think that it makes for a much stronger pitch. And the businesses we have who are getting ready to pitch include an artist, a bookkeeper, custom butcher, and an equine therapy instructor. So again, really runs the gamut. We had some late entries into our pitch event too, that includes another cafe and then a donut maker, which we're all really excited and hoping that they bring their samples. So challenges. We certainly have challenges. As I mentioned, data tracking is one of them, and that's something that we're working to improve. But as I was preparing this presentation, I sort of asked the questions that my organization asks ourselves constantly. And the first one is, how do we screen investor members? So we have a number of people, like I said, 82 people who are investor members, and we have an application process that is a little antiquated. We haven't revisited it in a while, and we're currently trying to do so. But for the most part, there's no problem with people joining the investor member group. Anyone's welcome to join, but there is a concern occasionally that people are joining the investment network just to sort of get the inside scoop on what's happening with local businesses. And again, maybe just because they're interested, but also there's the concern that people want to hear about new ideas and new opportunities and exploit those for some reason. So one step that we're trying to initiate is a membership fee. And that would help pay for some of our administrative costs, as well as ensuring buy-in from investor members that they're there for, you know, good and noble reasons. Another question that we have is, how do we screen applicants and prepare the business owners while also protecting our staff time? And this is the issue because in the past, we've spent a lot of time, a lot of staff hours working with business owners to prepare their pitches and their business plan, which is great, which is time well spent. But then the businesses come up in front of the investment network and there's no interest. And so while I wouldn't call it wasted time, because it's always great to work with business owners and get them where they're hoping to be, we also have to protect our staff time a little bit too. And so we're looking at how to implement a screening process that would allow us to gauge investor interest before we dedicate that staff time to helping business owners prepare. And so that could look like receiving a pitch or receiving an opportunity submission form. That's what we call our initial inquiry form. And then distributing that to investor members and seeing if there's anybody interested. And if we do receive interest, then we can go back to the business owner and start getting their pitch and presentation together, and then have the quarterly pitch event. And then the other question is, how do we ensure quality pitches with sound financials, and particular emphasis around the sound financials? And what we're trying to do now, in addition to working with individual business owners to get their pitch and presentation ready, we also partner with our local SBA representative, and we send a lot of business owners to meet with our SBA rep, who can then really dial in their financials. I can really help with plans and presentations, but our local SBA guy is more of a numbers person, and so we send business owners to them.
And so Patrick?
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. What I want to do is want to make sure we have time for the other two speakers. If you would help us.
Absolutely. Wrap up.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, no problem. Yeah, so we're also creating an opt-in for investor members who can offer advising and mentorship. This is a really exciting thing that a lot of investor members ask for. Like I said, we're trying to get better at tracking data. And then we also look at how we facilitate a steady flow of investment opportunities. And I really wish I could go into more about that because we've been doing some really great social engagement events. This has all been with support of the Washington State Microenterprise Association grant. So big shout out and thanks for that. We've had a number of social engagement events. We're also offering technical assistance workshops. We've had social media and website design, SEO. We have an upcoming bookkeeping 101 class. And these are great because they're providing resources and information to business owners, but they're also really helping funneling people into the investment network. And we've had a huge uptick in people inquiring since we've had these social engagement events and technical assistance workshops. So yeah, in conclusion, coordinating the Methow Investment Network is one aspect of creating or fostering an entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Methow Valley. You know, access to financing is provided alongside with the training and advocacy, the development of social capital, and the support of human capital. And yeah, we view all of our work through the lens of livability for local residents. And in our estimation, that livability takes into account sustainability, arts, food, agriculture, equity, and resilience. So all of our work with the investment network and business support is kind of focused through that lens. And that's all I really have. And we'll just encourage anybody to reach out if they have questions. And that's it. Thanks for giving me the time. Awesome.
Thank you, Patrick. With Twispworks and the Methow Investment Network, I appreciate you. Your presentation is very thorough, but I'd like to go now to Dale Stenning with the Local Investment Opportunity Network in Northeast Seattle. And although he's not rural, Dale has some really interesting insights, and I would love you to share a little bit before we go then to Monica. Go for it, Dale.
Thanks, Lisa. Can you hear me fine?
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. And I just shared my screen. Welcome, everyone, and thanks so much, Lisa and Cherie, for putting this event together. Excuse me. So I'm here representing Lioness, which is the Lion of Northeast Seattle. And like Lisa said, you know, you might think, well, this is about rural investing. Why is some, you know, New York City? Why is some guy from Seattle up on the screen? But even though we are Seattle-based, we don't really geographically limit ourselves to lending just for North Seattle residents. So we're open to, especially Western Washington borrowers are very welcome to discuss with us. We were started 10 years ago in 2013. Our first loan was 2014, and since then we've loaned at least $1.5 million, which is about $150,000 a year on average. Pretty good clip. We have about 15 different business owners we've worked with. Some of them have had single loans with us. Others have had multiple loans with us over the years. And we kind of got our start just reaching out with local farmers market vendors. A lot of them are, you know, family farms or little bakeries or such, and really, you know, starting literally at the bottom of the food chain. We've helped them get to brick and mortar or expand their business to food trucks and things like that. And we all like to eat, so there's always, you know, the personal connection there. We do focus on helping existing businesses expand as opposed to investing in startup businesses. So that is one distinction that's worth noting. And with that, I wanted to give a little case study of one of our borrowers. This is Katie Pohl and Mohammed Rashid. Mohammed goes by the name Fi, so Katie and Fi. And we met them at a farmer's market. They had a little booth called Susu where they made really delicious ice cream, and they wanted to expand their business. It was rather seasonal for them, not many sales in the wintertime. So they wanted to open a shop in the International District in Seattle, and they had really poor timing. They opened in March of 2020, and right then is when COVID hit. So they were really up against a challenge. So they pivoted and transitioned to take out pastries and desserts, and they were still struggling, but because they were in the International District, they added a lot of East Asian flavors to their products, and it really took off. So they've been very, very successful in that location, even with the pandemic and such. And they came to us last year with a request to help them with their new business endeavor, which is the T55 patisserie up in Bothell, Washington. So they found this really beautiful, perfectly located storefront in Bothell, and they wanted to build more of a classic bakery experience there. So they focus on French-inspired pastries, but influenced by Singapore flavors, which is where Phi is from. And they've done an amazing job with the build. They are getting amazing press. They just hired an experienced pastry chef, which will allow Phi to spend more of his time on developing their business, and they'll be able to produce a lot more product. They literally sell out by 11 or 12 in the morning every day. There's a line that forms outside of their door before they even open. So hats off to them for doing such a great job up there and really building a great anchor for that emerging community. And this is just one of the many businesses that we've been able to assist with our group, and I'm thrilled to be involved with Lisa and the others to help look at how we can build these kinds of efforts across the entire state. So thanks you, Lisa, for the opportunity to join the panel tonight. And that's what I have to offer right now.
Beautiful, beautiful. Dale, thank you so much. And for sharing that unique story of the entrepreneur. All of our investment networks around the state are working to build equity into their lending, and that was a great example. I'd like to go now to Monica, who's now in the way down southwest part of the state, in the Wahkiakum, Cowlitz area. And so I just excited you're here, and welcome. And we are excited to hear about your presentation. Go for it.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, my name is Monica Seidel, and I work for the Cowlitz-Wahkiakum Council of Government, and we have a division of that that is the Lower Columbia Investment Network. When I came on board less than a year ago, I had no idea what a COG was and what they did for the community. And so I have written on the slide the mission statement of the COG, and it truly is to help all of the economic development, transportation, community development. And so an investment network is just one piece of that. My background is in banking. I came from 18 years of being a bank manager. And so it's passion, I guess, it's a part of the passionate job of mine, because so many times in the past when businesses came in to ask for loans, I did not want to tell them no. I wanted to tell them how. I wanted to explain how they could set themselves up to receive lending. And so by transitioning and being a part of the COG, they've given me the opportunity to focus on the investment network. And with that, one of the very first projects we did was a network night in September, and we invited the community. They've had a couple that they've hosted in the past, and so far we're looking to hopefully have a successful marriage. We haven't had one yet, and that doesn't mean that we don't keep trying and we don't keep pushing forward. So with that, there's actually a few people I've seen in the presentation tonight as guests that are from the community. So I'm hoping that we can collaborate together as well going forward. They've just been tremendous. You have to find your community champions, and then you have to grab a hold of them and have them come along with you. So of course, some of the financial creative solutions that we've been looking at is how do you describe what a investment network is without calling it Shark Tank or angel investing or barter and trade, because truly it is a unique peer-to-peer opportunity. And so we have also been looking at DEI support because there's so much diversity out there, and we want to include those that might not necessarily always qualify in the banking world. And so I've went directly to business bankers, and I have been pleading with them to send me businesses that don't quite qualify, that they felt passionate about, trying to explain to them how instead of no. And so hopefully going forward, that will be successful. Here's a fun little slide. It's my brainstorming with my boss as to how we move an investment network forward. I think sometimes you have to go backwards to go forwards. So this is kind of what my brain looks like. But it's also innovation, and it's looking at the bigger picture, I think. And so for us, trying to get the investment network to move forward is looking at options. We've been able to host small business workshops and grant writing classes. Post-COVID, most people have seen the transition. When I was out giving away money through the PPP, it was a different situation. And now all of a sudden the PPP money is gone, and businesses are looking for options again, and how they move forward. And so for us, we're trying to be creative and innovative. And so doing that, we also have went to the community and we've said, what do you want for our community? What do you want to see? And I'm not kidding, the list just last week was activities. They want to see activities in Kelso Longview. Southwest Washington is a beautiful location with Mount St. Helens just at our doorstep. And, you know, we're an hour from the ocean, an hour from the mountains. Well, what do you have right here in town? It's limited. So just by listening to the community and their requests, so here's some of the ideas that we're starting to brainstorm and come up with. We do have a revolving loan fund for the city of Longview, but it's exclusive to that, so not for our whole county. We have had one success in our community just this year, which is exciting to see that those funds are getting utilized and moving forward again. And here's some of the different ideas and the ways that we're trying to reach out to our communities. I also believe going backwards to go forwards, even in age. So then you start getting a hold of the younger generation, you start getting a hold of those that are also civic minded to see how they play a part in it and bring those new entrepreneurs forward in that spectrum. So this is, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if you could come, we're coming near our end.
Perfect. So this is a in process that a small business incubator idea with LCC. My boss hasn't even seen this yet, so it's why it's called in process. So nobody quote me on this one. And then there is my contact information. So just trying to pull it all together to find new and innovative ideas to get the lending out to that peer-to-peer group. Thank you.
Beautiful. You were almost at the end anyway, so thank you. Very nicely done. And thank you to all the speakers. I hope everybody got a sense of how wide-ranging, how far and how rural these community lending programs are with these local investment networks. What we'd like to do right now, before we go into the questions, is just get a sense, get a finger on the pulse of where folks are in the room. And we're going to do just a little bit of a poll. And so we'd like to know if you are interested in learning more about local investment networks, maybe starting a local investment network in your community, or maybe participating in one that already exists. Just a quick poll, and you can You can click yes or no. All right. So beautiful job, everyone. Thank you. I've got some questions. The first question really came from a person who registered, and I wanted to get to that first. The question is, we are a new nonprofit for the purpose of creating a much needed animal shelter in Okanagan. Now, this is unique to obviously Twispworks, but my hope is that you keep the answers pretty brief. But do you ever lend to nonprofits, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely. We have lended to nonprofits. The one that comes to mind had earned income through selling trail passes. That's Methow Trails. So there has to be a way to repay the loan. So coming from an animal shelter, it's not outside the realm of possibility, but you'd have to show on your pitch how you would repay the loan.
Perfect. And that's probably likely with the rest of your networks, I'm assuming. Is that right, Earl? You and Dale and Monica, do you all do loans to nonprofits?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to another question. It came in during the registration. We are training the next generation of farmers. This is a group called Courage to Grow Farms in the Palouse. And so they are curious about lending. And now we don't have a local investment network here, so we're going to put a link to a partner in Lewiston, which is in Idaho, that does lending. But I just want to make sure that that person knew that we got that question. Anyone else know of a local investment network there in the Palouse or in Southeast Washington? All right, so I am going to go. The next question is, what are other alternative financing options in rural communities? I know you all are doing local investment networks. Have any of you worked with like Kiva or other alternative financing options? Or networked with them, any of the panelists?
No, but I always tell people that it's an option who are inquiring to the investment network, and I've shared resources, especially about crowdfunding.
Wonderful. Okay, so
You're muted, Lisa.
So let me just look here. There was a question early on, and I'm going to do this one first. So how established does someone need to be? For example, what if they just have an idea or a passion to make it real, but no funds to do a kickstart? How established does a business need to be before they come to an investment network? And Earl, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so Dale mentioned that Lioness doesn't fund startups, but we do. We fund startups. And you have to come in, having just a passion is not good enough, okay? Being able to make strawberry jam isn't necessarily being able to make a strawberry jam business, So you have to come in with some business plan. We have some resources for that in the community. We work with the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. I think Rick Skinner's on one of the participants tonight. If we have someone come who has just a passion, we would say, please connect with the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship and develop that passion into a business plan, and then please come back. So you have to be able to convince somebody to loan you money, and that means you have to be able to convince them that you're going to be able to pay it back. So you have to have a business plan. But that being said, we do fund a lot of startups.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of a microenterprise development organization that is funded through WSMA, working with the local investment network to help them get ready and be more viable for that investment. Anthony, were you going to share something?
Yeah, I was also going to just point out, sort of like, Monica and Patrick demonstrated in their presentations what a strategy, within their local investment networks is looking at kind of other resources, educational opportunities and resources to provide to the community that bring in potential members and businesses, like the bookkeeping 101 that Patrick was showing, and different things like that bring people in, and then through that process then of education and kind of developing their idea or plan more, it creates kind of an on-ramp.
I love that.
Lisa,
Yeah,
maybe
oh,
I should
go
also
for it.
mention that we partner very closely with our Economic Development Council, called Team Jefferson. And in fact, they handle all of our administrative processing of the applications. And they will often be a resource for someone who has a passion but not yet developed it into an idea. So in addition to the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship, we partner with EDC, and we're always working with EDC how to improve the process along the lines of Patrick said. There are a lot of questions about how to get people better prepared to come make a presentation. And that's just an ongoing journey of making that better.
I love that. I wanted to just say that if someone in the audience here is interested in starting a network, finding that anchor partner like your Economic Development Council or a chamber is really a key way. And then of course you can engage with WSU Extension. I wanted to go to another question from Monica in the audience here. And she says, I would like to understand the reality about rural businesses, consistent access to internet. I'm a business consultant and want to be able to make good recommendations for how to improve their business, and not totally sure about my recommendations are great for rural businesses due to the possible limited internet. Is that an issue for you folks in rural communities?
It actually is a real issue for us, especially that's one of the other projects that I'm working on is broadband for all in Southwest Washington, because we are such a rural community. We do have businesses that struggle to have internet access. And so it is one of the initiatives as well that we're looking at, because it really is truly a problem if you can't get your product to market, which a lot of times now is social media and out onto the web. That really does create a barrier.
It's a huge barrier. We know of folks in very rural communities who have to go to the library, park right next to it, and do their sales. That's where there's internet. And so hopefully with this broadband initiative and the IRA funding coming down, there'll be some efforts to get closer to that. Anybody else want to speak to that? Anthony or Jacob?
Yeah, WSU currently is working with all counties and tribal nations in the state on developing broadband action plans and digital equity plans to be submitted to the Washington State Broadband Office, which will then be submitted to the federal government to show them what Washington State has in the way of plans, because there's going to be money coming to Washington State from the infrastructure plan that was passed specifically for the development and implementation of broadband for rural communities. So hopefully we will see that improve over a shorter period of time once we get that funding and start to implement infrastructure from that planning that we're engaged in now.
And they really do, for the digital equity piece of that kind of, they consider rural markets just as much of a need as unhoused individuals, older individuals, those types. Rural communities count.
Definitely. And I wanted to go to another question by Giselle, who's an amazing community leader in the state. And she had a question about access to alternative lending, successful and effective business model that other communities can create. I guess what I wanted to say is, if you are in a rural community, you want to research other alternative models, you can go to Evergreen BizLink, put in your zip code, and go and search. And these and other kinds of models for lending will come up just as another option for you. There's a question here from Monica. She says, I also hope to understand whether it's easy for businesses or how it is for businesses in rural communities to travel. It's just, you know, transportation is a huge limitation. And I don't know if any of you want to speak to that as investors or as investment networks.
And Lisa, what was the question concerning their travel?
So like, I would imagine that if they have to come to a pitch event and they are, you know, 2 hours away or 1 hour away, how do you manage keeping track of or connecting with businesses that are even more remote than your local community? Is transportation a barrier or an issue when it comes to lending?
I think transportation is an issue to sometimes get the people to the locations, and especially with the job market out there these days. Sometimes it's hard to get the employees where they need to go, and so I think that everybody's struggling with that as well. So having mobility management and training, there's opportunities out there on the internet when people search for it. The COG is one of those that offers mobility training, so that we train people how to get to jobs, how to get to businesses that they need to.
Anyone else want to share?
Lisa, I can just say that transportation can be a major issue out in the Methow Valley as well, and Zoom meetings have been a really great way to include more folks, as long as the internet access is available to those folks. We've had a lot of success with inviting people to pitch over Zoom.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I was going to add the same note, Lisa. We used to meet face to face. We meet the third Tuesday of each month, and then with COVID, we went to online, and it's really improved our ability to reach out and have people come to our sessions virtually. And the last 2 loans that I've done, I met the person in, you know, face to face, but all the transactions happen with email attachments and things like that. So I don't feel like that aspect of transportation has been an impediment to getting the loans done. Of course, people need to be able to get around to make their businesses work in general.
Totally. Beautiful. Great answers. Thank you very much. I'm just going to go to the question that is in the Q&A, and that is, you mentioned disabilities assistance in the beginning. What resources are available and where can I find them? And so what I want to do is a quick shout out to the Washington Access Fund. And I don't know if you folks have ever heard of them. We'll put that information in the chat, but their whole focus is working with people with disabilities and helping them get access to very small loans for equipment, for just to help them along. They are going to do more business lending, but it's an incredible resource. If you all investment network partners run into a person with a disability, there are small loans to help them in addition to what you may support them with in, you know, with your investment. So I want to just take another moment. I've been trying to get all of the questions. I do know we're excited that we have a bunch of folks from Southeast Washington. Holly with SWEDA is here working on broadband in Whitman County. So we're excited about that. We also have fiber optic in Whitman County. So that's really a big deal. Let's see. If unable to find investors, are there resources that can be provided for business owners pitching? And there's a bunch of pitch events around the Washington state. You can also look at Evergreen BizLink. All right, so I want to go. Are there any other questions that you all have seen that I have missed in the chat? Because then I have a couple of other questions I'd like to bring forward. All right. So my question is, how do you folks get the word out? How do people know that you have a local investment network in your community? How do people find out when your pitch nights are? Can each of you answer that question? And let's begin with Earl.
Well, outreach is something we pay a lot of attention to, because we know that we're only getting applications from a subset of the people in the community who could apply. So we do several things. We like to have at least a yearly community meeting, which we broadcast, which we advertise widely, and have it's open to both people interested in investing as well as people who want to be investors. Every one of those meetings, we get 2 or 3 applications that come in a few weeks later. So we're reaching people. But those are one at a time. I think word of mouth is actually the best way to reach out. Take the organic farming community, for example, or the agriculture community. A number of them have received investments from LCIN members, and so they talk amongst each other. So we get that, we get them through that, and then yeah, I'd say those are the 2 principal ways we get it. And the third way is we're just part of the investing ecosystem. And so we try to keep good communications with the banks, and we do get referrals from the banks. Monica would appreciate this. We've had businesses which approach the banks, and the bank says, "You're not bankable, but try LCIN." And most of the businesses that LCIN funds are not bankable, and so the banks know that we're there also, and so that's another way we get referrals.
Fabulous. Patrick, would you share your outreach efforts and your strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like Earl said, word of mouth is maybe one of the strongest means of doing outreach. But I also, I guess, talk it up every chance that I get. I go to monthly Chamber of Commerce meetings in towns throughout the Valley. And any other community group or community meeting that I attend, if I have the opportunity, I'll let people know that the investment network exists and that they should get in touch if they're interested. We have relationships with some of the other lending options out there, but those are something that could definitely be strengthened. And we could kind of create more of a funnel for folks who are unbankable, but would be a great fit for the investment network. And then the events that we've been holding recently, the social engagement events, which I take the opportunity to stand up and talk about the investment network, and then also the workshops. I usually mention it as well. So I think through some of our other programming, we've been able to promote the investment network and kind of get a steady trickle of inquiries and interest.
Wonderful. And I know that I heard from Sarah that you had an event, you expected 20 and like, I don't know, 40 or 50 came, which is pretty doggone exciting.
That was great. Yeah, I set out 8 chairs and we ended up having about 45 people.
That's a good thing.
It was a really
Wonderful.
good thing.
Wonderful. And Dale, how about you? How do you get the word out about your investment network?
Well, thank you, Lisa. Very similar to Earl's comments. Word of mouth is probably the single most common way. We really want to have a personal relationship with our borrowers anyway, so we kind of start with that usually. And I noted in the intros that a lot of our borrowers are farmers market vendors, at least at first, and so there's a good community of communication there already, with people sharing best practices and a little inside information. Also, like Earl, we do get some referrals from some of the bankers that we know, there's sort of this threshold for banks to lend, even if the borrower does have all the right collateral and credit scores. If the number's too small, the banks usually turn them down just because it's more trouble than it's worth for them. But that puts them right in our wheelhouse of our typical loans are from $25,000 to $60,000, $70,000 collectively amongst our members. So we do kind of fill a gap in that regard. And we're also affiliated with a group called Sustainable Northeast Seattle, which is kind of a community-based grassroots group that covers all kinds of different things, not just financial. And we get some referrals from that organization from time to time also.
Excellent, excellent. Monica, will you chime in? I'd love to hear how you get the word out in Southwest Washington.
Sure. It's a lot of feet on the street. It's a lot of one-on-one conversations. And jokingly, but seriously, it's a lot of drinking coffee, eating people's chocolates, trying their dessert, trying their product as I walk in the door, because I don't want to walk in and just throw them some paperwork and a pitch and say, hey, did you want to, go to the next level with your business, and not have a reason to be in there. So I will say I have definitely taken the time to sample and to visit with a lot of smaller businesses that are looking to go to that next level, or they're not ready to yet, but I will still patronize them, and I will still purchase their coffee and buy a piece of chocolate, or be there to have those conversations. But truly, it is networking. It's being connected. It's going to all of the other events. It's promoting it in as many different ways and avenues. I've been on the local radio station talking about it. Anytime somebody will listen, I will bend their ear. I will keep talking about it until I'm blue in the face. One of the niche markets that we're starting to look at now is one of the bankers in our community has ethnic opportunities at some points. And so we're just trying to find avenues, because some of these businesses are vibrant, but they can't always be bankable because either they don't have the correct social security numbers and all of that, but they have ITINs. And so a lot of banks don't lend to those types of situations. And so we're looking to be, like I said, more inclusive and more creative, and offering mentorships between businesses that are already existing to a business that might be struggling to go to that next level, and see how they can work together.
Awesome. Thank you so much. One of the questions I have is really what has been, or what is the most important community benefit with having a local investment network? I mean, I can say, of course, there's a way for people to get financing, but there's something more. What do you see as the most, you can either describe a business that made a huge impact in the community, or just from your perspective, what do local investment networks bring to the community? And Earl, I want to know if you'd start out.
Well, I don't know, I think you kind of hit most of them, Lisa, but I would say the biggest one I see, and it's just anecdotal, is that young entrepreneurs, people who have not had access to capital, or don't think they have access to capital, are just thrilled that there's something in the community that serves them. So I'd say it's a sense of feeling like they have, the community is there for them.
Dale or Patrick, would you go next? What's really been pivotal or meaningful in terms of impact?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would echo what Earl said, that the kind of community spirit that comes out of these transactions, these agreements, is really incredible, and not only for the lender, but or not only for the borrower, but also for the lender, who has resources that they want to share and have an opportunity to invest in a local business and see someone else succeed. And I think that it just really strengthens the local economy by creating a more diverse business base. I mean, we have, like I said, we have a lot of food and beverage stuff, which is great. Everybody loves food and beverage. But then when things like 509 Automotive and other service-based businesses get funded. I mean, yeah, I just think that that's incredible when really necessary service-based businesses get funded and get to continue to operate and serve Valley members. That's the most, I think that's one of the more rewarding things.
Lovely. What about you, Dale?
Well, I'm going to sound a little bit echoey as well, but I think we're all reinforcing the same core benefit, which is this local community engagement. One of our borrowers, actually, we've done 2 loans with them. They're a bakery, but they, you know, to deliver a loaf of bread, to actually create a delivery model, it doesn't really pencil, because people aren't going to want just a loaf of bread delivered to their house usually. But so they partnered with some of the funds we were able to get them. They partnered with a lot of other local businesses that are in a similar conundrum, and especially ones that produce shelf-stable products. There's a tuna boat that does canned tuna, and there's people that do, you know, coffee and all kinds of different commodities. They're actually delivering an inventory to the Salmonberry people, and their website is just now loaded with things that you can have delivered to your house. And so you're able to basically do one-stop shopping for a lot of really high quality products and delivered to your house. So, you know, not only are we engaging with this borrower to help the community, but they're able to engage with other businesses on their own level. And we're really seeing a synergy there that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And so I think I really hate it when I go into places where there are no small businesses. It's all chains, you know, Burger Kings and Chevron stations, and the quality of community that's, you know, populated with small businesses that are, you know, chef-owned restaurants, or, you know, when you go to the cash register, you're actually talking to the owner of the business. I mean, that's irreplaceable. And to be able to help out in our small way, it's really rewarding. So that would be my comment.
I love that, and the innovation that happens when you're problem solving on the ground with businesses that can be an asset to another or many
Exactly.
others. So that's super. Monica, do you want to share any insights there?
Try to unmute first.
There you go.
So I think one of the things that every time I talk to somebody about this, what a great opportunity and what a great idea to help your neighbors helping neighbors. And there's so much benefit in that, and making sure that not one more business closes, and that we don't have empty buildings and we don't have empty spaces, and that we have the vibrancy that we once had. And I think that, you know, as we talk about it to the community, they love the idea of, wow, let's be creative and do that bartering, so that the little cupcake business like Dale's talking about, if they want to make cupcakes, great. But if they want to grow and they want to expand and build, you know, wedding cakes, then guess who's going to be their best investor? The father has to buy a wedding cake next year for his daughter's wedding that can get cupcakes and leading up to it. So, you know, the dog walker that wants to expand their business to have a doggy farm. There's so many people out there now that their pets are their children. And so putting them together in the right place and the right space to help each other and to see that grow in a community is just exciting.
Love it. I so appreciate all of you. I want to just, we're near closing. I want to give you all a chance to share about what does the future of your local investment network look like. If you could just take 1 minute or two to just share, like, what's inspiring you right now? Where are you going? And we begin with Earl, and then we'll go to Patrick.
Well, something new we're trying to do is help with affordable housing. And it's a huge problem for all of our communities, nothing unique about us. But it's a huge problem for our businesses. They can't hire people. So we're trying to find a way whether local investors can participate in affordable housing, and we're feeling our way. I can't say we're still on the taxiway for sure. We haven't taken off, but that's a big challenge for us right now.
Thank you, Earl. Patrick, what about you? What does the future look for your investment network?
Yeah, my hope is that the future looks much more streamlined, and that we have great feedback from our borrowers and our investors, just as far as the data goes. Housing is another important thing out in the Methow Valley. We have a investment network housing subchapter that is also steadily taxiing on the runway and looking for its first opportunity to fund something. And then what I'm really hopeful for too is to really incorporate and promote the mentorship and advising aspects. Speaking with some of the businesses who have been funded, the funding is critical. It's why they're there, but they'll tell you that the biggest benefit they've gotten is out of the mentorship and advising. And we'd really love to formalize that and create an opportunity, even if there's no funding involved in the conversation, that there's opportunity for advising and mentorship.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Dale?
Thanks, Lisa. Well, I think the future of Lioness, one of the things that is probably going to need to happen is we're going to need some more members on the lending side. Some of our members are, getting a little bit more conservative with the way that they manage their retirement income, and our loans are uncollateralized, so there is some risk associated with being a lender, and so we're probably going to need to add some more members. So if you ask about the future of my group, that's probably number one. But like Earl and Patrick noted, the housing situation in our community is really tough. People that are working, in the service industry are having to commute, 45 minutes or so or more just to be able to get to that job because they can't afford to live in the neighborhood where the business is. So it's a tough one because, add a 0 or 2 to the kind of numbers that we're talking here when you get into housing things. But we're talking with some, like tiny home manufacturers in the area that maybe we can lend some money to or help out in some ways. And we're also still looking for more people who want to borrow from us too. So we're at a pretty good status quo, but we're most likely we're going to need to add some more lending members to our group.
Love it. Thank you, Dale. And Monica, round us out.
Sure. So that's one of our biggest challenges is finding the members on both sides and finding people to come to the conversations. Everybody that I talk to, it sounds like a great idea, but I just need them to attend and participate. Kalama, one of the little communities in our county, has a marketplace that they're building and they're starting, and they have done a phenomenal job of working with new startup businesses and new businesses coming into the space where it's going to look like a micro incubator. So, learning from them and helping others see the potential and the growth with that. Also, LCC, our community college, we're using a space in there as a business achievement center so that small businesses have a place that they can come and get mentored and information, and having different people like from SCORE and from the Small Business Development Center, just being able to help them with permitting and answering questions and getting them resources and directions. Because I think a lot of people that are starting a business, that are entrepreneurs, like the person that put in the chat, where do I start? I have an idea. I have a passion. Now, how do I put that into a business plan and make that happen? And so working with local business partners to make that happen, I think is going to be where our direction is.
Fabulous. So let's give everyone a round of applause. Beautiful time today. Excellent work. You can use your emojis. You were all fantastic. So thank you so much. And for all of you in the audience, I want to invite you to consider filling out our survey. We're going to be sending this out. We want to get your feedback and your perspective. So that'll be coming out after this event. We want to thank you for joining us to this webinar tonight. It was really important for us to share these amazing stories. We want to make sure that you have a way of knowing who's in the room. So we included all of the contacts of the speakers in the chat, which you will all receive, along with the video replay with captions and any questions that came up. The slide decks will also be included. Just wanted to thank you again for being here tonight. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you for the folks who are supporting this work. And we hope you have a wonderful evening.